All right, awesome, awesome. We are live. Guys, thank you for popping back. We got Community with Closers. We got an amazing guest. Had the pleasure of meeting Chuck actually in Cabo. Amazing speaker. Like, we got the sales guy on the call. Chuck Thokey in the house. What is up, brother?
Man, thank you so much. I'm always glad to be on anything that you're on. I love to watch you. If you're speaking, I'm there.
Nice. I appreciate that, man. It's been a blast. I've had some really cool opportunities this year to speak with landscapers and stuff. And, it's all about giving back. I know you speak all over the country as well. And it's like, when you can help that one person or many, right? But that
Yeah.
one person, you're kind of talking to your past self. It's really cool to be able to do that. So tell me about that, man. You've been all over the place before we jump into this. How's that been going this year?
And this year it's been absolutely crazy. A lot of the stuff that we're doing right now, a lot of the platforms that we're putting out a very high tech type platform, and really partnering with people like Rilla and Engage. These people, we have really exploded their popularity in the industry, and really showing people how to be different
Mm.
outside of just saying, "Hey, this is how we're different in the house." We actually show them how they can be different while they're presenting.
Love that. Yeah, technology, I mean, is key. So we have a presentation as well, and it's digital. You can go through there, you can click the bubbles. Like, you gotta be different. Like, we gotta tweak, we gotta pivot. Things are different, I would say, right? Like the sales, like going in is not the same thing we've been doing 5, 10 years ago, right? Like it's changing like yearly, I feel like.
About 10 years ago, things weren't changing much at all. Now things are changing so rapidly. If you were doing something in January, you're definitely not doing it in December. That's
Yep.
how fast things are changing.
I agree. I agree. And that's for, everybody on the call. We got people that watch the recording. We got people on here live. But like that's the reality of it. If you guys are doing the same thing over and over, right? Like that's not working. You are getting beat out by top reps, right? That are trained by Chuck because they're doing things different and they're leveraging that, outside the home, in the home. I mean, it starts right when you answer the phone. Like
That's absolutely right. Yeah.
technology is amazing. And so I think the 10 steps are good because you got to have a solid base. And we've been going through those each Wednesday. And so we're going to be focusing on step 9 and 10 today. And I'm going to share my screen and Chuck, I'm going to have you kind of go through it a little bit. Like, we're gonna give some stuff out tonight for sure. So everybody who's
Absolutely.
watching, make sure you guys are sharing this thing out. We appreciate it. And definitely follow Chuck because he's doing some amazing things. So
Thank you.
I'm just gonna go ahead and share this out and then we will talk about those steps. See if I can do this. I don't know why. Every time it's like a little different for me. Oh, that's why, because I got to allow it. But we'll get it.
I
Sweet.
love the new hats, man.
Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah, we had a couple of different ones, made and
That
it's
one's good.
yeah. So and then I got to get Goya. I say Goya, right? Get off your
Yeah.
ass. So I got a couple of those made too.
Awesome.
I'll get you one for sure.
Please, I'd love to get one.
Love it. All right, so real quick, so we're gonna jump in here. Remember, this is 30 minutes rapid fire for you guys. So these are short, sweet, and to the point. So we're gonna be talking about step number 9 and step number 10. Step number 10 is fully packed in there. So, like we did, we were covering step number 9. This is the paperwork phase, and I think this is really important because this isn't just for the reps, right? It's for your technicians, it's for the company, it's so you have an amazing customer experience. So when we talk about the paperwork, we're talking about 30% max down payment allowed per company owners, preferred checks, of course, right? If they ask to use credit cards, tell them we have a 5% discount already applied for cash deals. We'd be glad to accept their credit card. So, we're talking about this, Chuck, and I know, like you're saying, like this stuff has changed. So, what are some things right here, when you are doing the paperwork and you're getting the down payment, what does that look like?
I like how you're doing this because so many other companies are saying, "Hey, this is the price. Oh, what's your cash price?" And there's always this discount. But I like the fact that for you, you're letting them know that this is the cash price. That if you do choose to use a form of financing or credit card, that we are going to have to add to it. And I hear so often when people say that, oh, that, that's illegal. That's absolutely not true. And there was a part of the Credit Act that was misinterpreted back in the day. And you're allowed to charge for whether it be credit card fees or finance charges. You are absolutely allowed to do it. But I like how you position this, and you're pushing for the checks, because most people, it's like they'll say, "Hey, do you have financing?" Knowing that they can pay cash,
Yep.
and you're just going to throw out 7% just because you absolutely have
Mhm.
the options there. But if you let them know that, hey, we do prefer checks, they'll pay with a check. It's the power of suggestion. It works.
Yes. And it is. It's breaking, you know what I mean? It's getting in there. We're talking about like getting past the logical part, right? And moving into that emotional part of the brain. And this is how we're doing it, right? And yes, it's a convenience fee and you can word it different ways, however you choose, right? And so this is just one thing that we do when we roll out, how are we going to pay for it, right? Make it easy and make it fun. We talked about that throughout all these steps, right? Because if you make it awkward, then it gets awkward, right? It's like, no, this is what we expect. You have to be the expert in the home, right? And then boom, get the check.
Now, I
So
am going to spin things a little bit differently on this. I'm going to talk out both sides of my mouth on this. If you have a large project, if you're whatever it is that you happen to be selling, if it is a large ticket,
mhm,
then and you tend to use financing, what I would suggest you doing is taking all of your finance charges for last year, take that, compare it to the amount of revenue you had last year, see what kind of percentage that is. It usually comes down to about 4%. Raise your prices by 4% and stop charging the homeowner, or trying to tell the sales rep, oh, you got to remember, because the sales rep's not going to remember to do that.
yep,
So it depends. If you're selling a large ticket, you will have to spin things the other way on this. But with a lot of what we sell inside the wash community or the concrete industry, we can definitely get checks, and we don't have to worry so much about credit cards, because people are so used to paying with it. If you just suggest that they pay with a check, they will.
yes, I love that. I love that because that's it. Just add it to the thing, and then you don't even have to talk about it, right?
That's right.
And and then it's done, right? It's not another thing you got to overcome sometimes. I think, when we're doing those things, look at your objections too, because sometimes you can throw something in, you can make that in there with those objections, like, oh, we don't even have to talk about that, right? So think about those things when you're going to that sale. Like every time I get out of a sale, I'm like, how can I do it better, right? Like, what were the feedback? How was the tension? That body language, all those things. So, whatever those are, just analyze your system that you guys are using, right? And then adopt some of these things that we're talking about. Like, Chuck, how long have you been doing sales for?
I've been doing sales for about 25 years.
Yeah. So, like, we've learned from customers over and over again,
Yeah.
and then as we talk to them, we're just serving them at a high level and then we tweak it and put it in the system.
Yep.
So I love that. Yeah, we've been doing that with Christmas lights too this year. So like when we're doing bigger tickets, $10,000 tickets, right? We have to have a 50% down payment with that because of the product cost. And
Mhm.
so we've been like tweaking that whole system to figure out how we can, just serve them at a high level and have them figure it out because they're like, "Ooh, I wasn't expecting to pay 10 grand for 2 months of Christmas lights." And so we're like working on that system as well. Um, but yeah, it's going really good, and we're feeling out those customers.
Right.
All right, sweet. So let's jump into step number 10. So the post close. And I love this because this is where you've got everything in line, right? So we're talking about the 10th step. So like you've done everything. So I'm going to read this out right here. So the post close. So thank them for their business, explain their next steps in the process so they know clearly what's going on. So someone from our office will call them to verify the order, get them set up, and tentatively put based on weather, put them on the schedule, right? Step number 2, explain that Colin, our field manager, might reach out to them as well with questions. Do your welcome call. So we do welcome calls. I know I talked about this before where we actually have the sales manager call or the owner will call and they'll be like, think of me as your crazy Uncle Bill, right? If you have any questions throughout the process, we're going to be here. you're like family now, right? And so we'll do that welcome call. And I really like those. That really stepped it up in our
I like
end.
that.
And then give them your cell phone number. That's something people don't do, and that builds trust. I think, I was at another conference the other day, and there was a gentleman talking about trust. And I think this is going to be a huge thing. You correct me if I'm wrong, Chuck, but the way he was saying it was like with the election and things, I'm not going to get political, but things that are going on in the world, right? Like there's going to be things with AI and all this stuff that trust is going to be broken because they're like, is that really that person? Right? Like, is it really this? Or the company's advertising this? Is this true? Right? So trust is like slowly being broken down. So we have to, by giving a cell phone number, by, being truthful, walking them through the steps, we have to constantly be building that trust. I feel like more than ever. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely, and I'm glad that someone actually said it because we're seeing it right now with AI, and it
Mhm.
is breaking. It's really hurting how we do things because we'll send things out. It's like, oh, was that really you? And so we are seeing it right now.
Yeah. And yeah, this guy, he wrote a book. I have it actually out in my car, but he writes, and I can't remember. It's called The Truth. Um, Shoot, I'll have to post a link in it, but he that's what he teaches on. And when he said it, I was like, dang, that's exactly what we're seeing. Is like hit the nail on the head with that one.
Yeah.
All right. So let's keep rolling through here. So we got the cell phone number, huge. Ask them if it's okay to reach out in 1 to 2 weeks later just to check on them and make sure that everything is going good, right? That's like your job I call them territory managers because we're managing that area and managing those customers. So
Hmm.
reaching back out, right? Letting them know what you're doing. Then tell them they may call you anytime with any questions or concerns. And then finally, say this: I'm always trying to better myself and improve my skills. What made you decide to choose to do business with Precision Pro Wash? Specifically, what made you choose to do business with me, right? And then write down that answer.
That
So
I really like that. Not too many people do that at all. So the fact that you do that in your organization is huge.
yeah, and it builds that relationship with our reps, right? It's like, look, you have your own small territory, but that's your business. That's your baby. And like, how are you going to foster that? Because these customers come back, right? They come back 8 months, a year, whatever it may be. So as they do that, I don't like nickel and diamond people, right? So when we have territory managers, they get paid again when they come back the next year. We always have them go back out, look at the home and then get the neighbor because it's another opportunity to be back out there and replicate your efforts, right? Instead of being that lead runner where you're like, okay, I just want leads from the company. That's great. And we're going to provide that. But how can you just build a bigger, better house, right? And so
Correct.
that's what we really touch on there. All right. So on this one right here, by writing this down, you can use it at future sales calls. My customer over here said I had more knowledge about this industry than anyone else she's ever met. Right? I love taking Angie's List reviews, any kind of those reviews that have that sales rep's name in it, and we will give those to them because sometimes they don't get to see all those. Right? So we'll print them out. We'll give them to those reps, and then they can go out and have more confidence, right? Because they're building confidence that they're going out and serving customers at a high level. I think it's really important to share, what they're doing, how they're winning out in the field. Are you guys doing things like that?
We have contests based on reviews that name them, but for us to actually give them that, I mean, we put them out on Facebook. We'll put them out on our. We have a text thread that's
Mhm.
inside the business itself. We'll
Oh,
post them in there. But yeah, yeah, that's
very
really good.
Yeah, that's what we do. We have Flock, similar to like that company chat, if you will. So
Yep.
Flock is free, and then we have a sales channel for every location that we have, and then they can give emojis, and you know what I mean. You're just post that thing in there, and you're creating that camaraderie. Just sold Mrs. Smith $1,200 package, whatever, right? And they see that, and then you have that fun competition inside the organization as well. They're like, shoot, like Chuck just sold another one. So
Yeah.
what is that guy going to do next week, right? Like, or tomorrow, he's going to go out there and he's going to hit it hard.
That's huge. I like that. I like how it's you can tell that when you go in and you see this inside of companies, you know the companies that are going to make it and which ones are going to struggle, because the ones that struggle look at this and they would watch this like right now and they're like, yeah, that's cool, but never do it. And those are the
Right?
companies that will struggle.
Oh, dude, that blows my mind all the time because like I'm actually building a PowerPoint right now. And it's going to be talking about that business owner, right? Or that manager that it's hard because I've been to so many businesses in the last 2 years, right? Because I do the sales boost on site and I get to see it like firsthand that owners want to do this or leaders want to do this, but they don't.
Mm-mm.
Like, I hate to say it, but you guys are lazy. Like,
Lazy.
right? Like, we've seen it where they don't go, I would say some of them don't even go to meetings, right? They don't have sales meetings. I just spoke to 450 landscape professionals that say, guys, how many are doing weekly meetings? There were like 20 people.
That's nuts.
Nuts. Absolutely nuts. And I'm like, what else aren't they doing, right? Like, I hate to say it, but like, you have to be blunt and to the point. It's like you're the leader. You have to show up earlier than everybody, right? You have to be the example, or else the team isn't going to see that. You're not going to build trust with your organization. And it's like, oh, anyway. So yes, you're right on. It's like, man, like do the things. It's easy.
It is easy. We at our event, we say that sales reps are lazy, but I'm a champion. We're having shirts made up right now with it. And when they start to understand what that really means, it blows their mind, because what that means is that we know that our competition, they know what they're supposed to do. They just won't do it. So when
Yeah.
they come out, they're only going to do half of what they're supposed to do. And then they wonder why our close rate's 60, 65%, because we do our job. Not only that is we verify that our reps do their job, because we use a thing called Rilla, and that will absolutely record everything that is done in the appointment. It's analyzed, broken down. By the time they leave, I can go and do a ride along within 5 minutes. And so again, they know that we're watching them, so they have to do absolutely everything.
I love that accountability, right? Like you gotta, inspect what you expect,
Yeah.
and that's exactly it. Because reps aren't going to do it. Like I hate to say it, but they do. They get lazy, right? They have more appointments or whatever it may be. They got stuff going on at home, whatever it is, and they don't follow the steps. And then you're like, "Why isn't it working?" I don't know why it's working. I think the system's broken. No, dude, you are broken. You know what I mean? Like you see it.
You just brought some up, and I don't want to go down a rabbit hole, but I do want to bring this up. We had a client, and I asked him, so how many reps or how many appointments do you allow a rep to have? They're like, well, about 5 or 6. And sometimes we'll allow them to go as much as 7. I'm like, that is absolutely crazy. And they're like, well, with our ticket, and they keep going down through this. And I says, oh, I want you to just over the next month, I want you to bring it down to 3, 4 at most. And that's what he did. And he says, our close rate went up 20%. I says, when you
Wow.
have sales reps that aren't sitting there just knowing they have 2 more appointments right after this, if I don't sell this, that's all right. No, we look at every appointment as it's sellable. And why didn't you sell it? We do things called Power Hour every morning, where it's a Zoom call for an hour from 7 to 8. All of our reps are jump on, and we go through every appointment that was run the day prior, because we're holding them accountable. If they're in there and they're like, I can blow this one off, they know they're going to be held accountable tomorrow at 7 a.m. for what they did. So again, there's a lot of things that people should be doing. They're just not.
I love that. I love that. And I think too, like some people don't know, right? Like they're like, I got a first sales rep, or, even with me, when I first started doing sales, I did sales meetings with myself, like self-checking that stuff. And I'm like, how did that ticket go? And I try to run through my mind. Then I got my first sales rep and I'm like, okay, I'm going through it with him. I'm having like I think we had one meeting a week, but it was like 30 minutes. Like, cause I had no idea, right? I had no idea what a sales meeting was. And you get better, right? And then you figure out, okay, but a good rep will call you, right? After that day, that afternoon, and say, hey, look, like Pat, that last thing, this is what happened. I'm like, well, tell me about that. What was the objection? Boom. And then you hash that out right then and there, and then it clicks for them. So I love what you're doing. The next day, like they know they got a report. They're like, shoot, like if I don't do these steps, Chuck's gonna be on me tomorrow.
That's right.
That's huge, huge. Because in our industry, people get sales reps and then they're like, dude, I'm good. I don't need to do sales. And I'm like, wait, whoa, hold back. Like you need to be selling, and then your sales rep need to be selling and following these steps. So then you have that fun competition as well.
Yeah.
Love that, man. All right. Sorry. I can get off track sometimes.
It's easy.
It is. All right, so right here, we're at number 6 right here. So shake their hand, thank them for choosing your company, and especially you, right? Thank them for supporting locally owned and run businesses. Remind them you are going to put out a yard sign. And I have this thing, it's easier to ask for forgiveness than permission. Like just remind them, hey, we're going to put a yard sign in your yard on the way out. We'll be in touch soon. Then drive down the road and report in Slack. That's what we use, Slack or Flock. To do that. And then we have some notes in here that we use for each one of our reps that they need to do, and just check a checklist really for them to remember, because there's so much stuff.
There is.
And you have to be, and I think you're really awesome at this, is like you role play. Like if you're gonna go to the World Series and you didn't friggin' practice the whole year, you're not even gonna make it to the World Series. So these guys have to role play. So it's second nature. It's just rolling off their tongue doing this stuff. So I would say to finish up, we got about 8 minutes left. So with those steps, how many people we got on here? Because I know we shared this thing out. But if we have questions, go ahead and post the questions in there. But with the final steps there, would you add anything, Chuck?
Really, with the steps that you have there, I really don't think I would. You have the follow-up call. You really rounded the bases, man. I don't think there's anything to add to that.
Heck yeah. Cool. Well, yeah, I mean, that's what it is, right? Just following the steps, training over and over again. And I love this because it's a framework, right? So leaders can get into, whatever it is with sales team, if they're getting their first rep or they have many reps and they just need to rein it back in. I know for me, from my experience, I went up to like 6 reps at one location, and it got a little crazy. You know what I mean? And I had to rein it back in. And so these steps really helped out and gave me clarity. I think I would say is
Yeah.
like how to run the meetings, being very straightforward with them. And it's hard because when you have people, you have that people aspect when you're dealing with customers and reps. You have to have the accountability, you have to have the structure. Is there anything else that you guys are doing structure wise in accountability for your reps?
Well, when it comes to accountability for us, and we hold our managers accountable just as much as we hold our sales reps accountable. But when we look at our reps, it's what they have to know, how they have to do it. Like I said, there are certain things that we do inside of the appointment itself so that we verify what they're doing. Like with our roofers, they have to dress the part. They have to have their tool belt on. For our window siding, our concrete coating guys. We're doing a lot with the concrete coatings, and they have to have their tool pouch on. And I've had some people that have their little bags. I'm like, throw the bags away, put the pouch on, look like a professional. We were riding with a very brand new green guy. He had just came out of like critter control. And it was the second day actually pitching the concrete coatings. And he was one of those that had 4 appointments, and I actually rode with him. And while we were riding, he says, man, I've got everything. He's going down through the list. He knows it. We were going through it in the car. He was reciting every script that we had. I says, man, you've really been working on this. He went 4 for 4 that day.
Dang, that's what I'm talking about.
It was very, very nice to sit and watch. He knew his rebuttals. He knew exactly when the stalls and excuses came out. He had somebody that says, hey, such and such coatings down the street was about $1,500 less. And he went right into it. He says, hey, I get it. There's always going to be somebody less. Let's just say, if you were to put both of those quotes together and both of them were that exact same price, which one would you choose? I mean, that was like a proud dad moment right there.
Yes.
The second day on the job, and he knew exactly where to go. And He was able to close it for $1,500 more. He didn't have to meet him in the middle. I hate it when these reps are like, "Oh, I'll meet you in the middle." No, you don't have to.
Yep.
You
You
know,
got to go right
it's
for it. Yep.
exactly. So if you know what you're supposed to do, if your reps know what they're supposed to do, same thing when it comes to their paperwork. There should be expectations on everybody.
Mhm.
And when we look at expectations on our managers and our reps, even our admin staff, we look at performance expectations, admin expectations, and self development expectations. And
Ooh.
so, when with some of the stuff that you're looking at, that's in that admin expectation.
Mhm.
And that's what they get paid their bonus on. You know, they get paid very well, but their bonuses are fairly large. And so, if they want those bonuses and they don't want to lose them, that their paperwork has to be on point.
Yeah. Yeah, it's something for them to look forward to, you know what I mean? Dot their I's, cross their T's, because any of that, you know what I mean? With that bonus is like, yeah, I can't tell you how many times like our admins are like they're looking forward to the bonus. They're like, I know my bonus is gonna be good this week, you know what I mean? I'm like, why? And then walk me through that, right? And then they'll tell you, and you're like, yes, like that's what I want to hear. So it's all accountability. I love that, man. So good. And then the ride-alongs. Like, if you guys are listening, Chuck, how many ride-alongs would you say that you're doing with your reps?
So I don't get a chance to do much because I'm usually sitting here in front of Zoom all day.
Okay.
However, our managers,
Mhm.
they're required to do at least 3 a week, if not
Nice.
4 to 5. But again, we have a technology that does the ride along on every call, breaks it down, and it analyzes, and even to the point where our top reps are
Mhm.
check marked inside that technology. So when a rep, one of our reps that are kind of middle of the pack or just brand new, when they come out, they're compared to that top rep. Hey, this guy, he speaks at so many words per minute. You spoke at this many words per minute. You asked this many questions in the house, and the top rep asked this many. And it really compares them to, exactly where they should be. And I've had people say, Chuck, man, are you building robots? If I could, I would.
That's right. I mean, you're pretty close to it, to be honest, because if you're calculating like how many words they're saying, how many questions they're asking, because then you
Exactly
can
right.
analyze that data. Because, like, I bet you they're probably double what the middle rep is, question wise and words, right? Because they're building the value, they're asking the right questions in the home, and they're asking a lot of them because they're getting and pulling that stuff out of the homeowner. Whereas, when we talk about it, we're like an estimate needs to be minimum 1 hour to 3 hours, right? Like that's what it is, depending on the ticket, depending on the job, right? The home size. But that's huge because you can take all that data now and literally build robots. This guy's at this close ratio, but he's saying this many questions, this many, boom, boom, boom. I
So
love
we
that.
have over 500,000 recordings. I mean, that's a lot of recordings.
Yeah.
And so when we break these down, because we're partnered with these folks, and the company is called Rilla Voice, but because we're partnered with them, we have access to this. And here's what we have found is that the top reps in the country
Mhm.
speak half as fast as the average rep because most people are very nervous in the house. It just
Yeah.
keeps coming out as fast as and the homeowner's like, what are you talking about? The other thing is the top reps ask 5 times more questions.
Wow.
And if you really calculate if we really put this into perspective, if a standard rep asks 5 questions, can you see how many questions that a top rep would ask? If they ask 10 questions, how many? So we ask a lot of questions in the house. We ask surface level, we ask problem and solution questions, so that we work our way towards the close. But here's the other thing is top reps will start out with a part of their company story, and then they finish with part of their company story. We
So
don't really bring out our reviews
Mhm.
until right there at the very end. And we want them to remember that who we are, not just who we were at the beginning of the appointment, but we know that they forgot about most of that when the price comes out. So we want to bring that the second half of our company story towards the end.
I love that. Yeah. And that's much like what we're doing. We're not tracking like you guys are, but we definitely you have to have the steps, right? And then when you're rolling those things out, because you're right, they forget about it, right? They're thinking about all the stuff in the middle, and then you got to just build it up a little bit more, and then roll that price out. Sweet, man. Dude, I really appreciate you hopping on today. Community of the Closers. We're going to have everybody probably back because I know you got so much more gold that everybody wants to know about for sure. But yeah, we'll have you back on. I know we're right up on time, but I hope this was amazing for everybody. The 10 steps to a sale. We're going to keep it going. We're going to be talking about 50 winning sales meeting topics. And I actually have a whole box right here. So I don't know if you saw these, Chuck, at Cabo, but we have 50 sales meeting winning topics that I kind of put together that what I was using that was really working. And so we're going to be going through those in this next session. So it's going to be pretty cool. So we definitely got to have you back on because there is a winning way to do sales meetings and not make them boring. Just make them fun.
Very cool. I like that. Good for you, man.
Yes, sir. Well, Chuck, thank you again, brother. I appreciate you being on.
Man, tell your little one happy birthday. Tell the wonderful wife that me and Christina said hi.
Yes, I definitely will. Thanks, man.
All right.
And everybody have an amazing night.